Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown with me, Matthew from Stillwater Alchemy. Gentle reminder, we are still in eclipse season. So that could mean a myriad of things, including that you're feeling exhausted or fatigued or anxious, as well as enlightened, elated, clear, crisp, intuitive downloads. So this is really the time that we can practice mindfulness and truly just take it one day at a time. Not trying to rush anything, allowing these insights to come through, knowing that change is very likely, and quite possibly for a few of you that every single day you're growing and transforming so much that you're no longer the same person that you were last week, a month ago, clearly, right? So that's a lot in the body, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I kind of compare it to clients, like if you're working out extremely hard for a week, at the end of that week, you'd be exhausted. Now imagine that type of workout emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and if you're still working extremely hard in the physical realm. So we need lots of sleep. I know this past weekend, like Friday, Saturday, the energy is really intense and a lot of people are feeling it across the board. So this week, we also have a lot of planet shifting, a lot of intense aspects. And intense doesn't mean bad. It just means that with that friction, that heat, it's obvious that things are going to be moving or transpiring. Very obvious. People like to say that Scorpios are intense. So I like to think of it as a good word. Intense is better than boring, right? So let's dive into this week and see what we are experiencing, shall we? Gentle reminder, we're starting off on Monday, May 9th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we start off with that moon in Leo opposing Saturn. So we think of Leo, we think of solar, bright, happy. Making that opposition to Saturn, it might just mean that you have to make more responsible, dutiful choices, or you have to do something that's challenging or even just hard, where you're like, I have to put in a lot of work here. I'd rather be doing almost anything else, but I really feel like I have to channel my energy here. And even to kind of discern where that's going to fall for you, looking at your own natal chart and houses that Leo and Aquarius rule, it might be very obvious, whether it's in communication or finances or relationships, whatever that is, it'll probably be pretty obvious. And with this as well, it's the last full day of Jupiter being in Pisces, because tomorrow, the 10th of May, Jupiter will ingress into Aries. And of course, Mercury will station retrograde on the 10th as well. No need to fret over that. We'll get to that in a moment. But it's just a lot of energy is shifting. So it could almost just feel energetically like there's a few things left on that to-do list that you need to get off your plate before we handle what's about to come up. So take that for what it is. I do really like that we have this Mercury Venus sextile here. So take advantage of that, because Venus is just kind of breezing by Aries. So to have this nice sextile, it's like good for communication. Like I said, to wrap up loose ends, if you need to like send that email or get something from someone, this would be the day to do it. So take full advantage. Okay. When we move into Tuesday, so yes, Mercury stations retrograde at 4 degrees Gemini. Here's the thing. This isn't bad. I keep saying this, people keep asking. We get to reframe truly with this retrograde for the rest of your life, how we approach all retrogrades, but especially Mercury retrograde. This one is going to take place in the signs of Gemini and Taurus. Remember that Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo. So knowing that it's in one of its favorite signs is actually going to be very conducive to this retrograde. I'm just finishing up right now the Mercury retrograde workshop. You can use the promo code Mercury for 22% off. My intention is to release it tomorrow, Tuesday, May 11th. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll put the link in the description of this video once it is available. However, this Mercury retrograde I'm kind of excited for, because we are experiencing it during eclipse season. So it gives us an opportunity for new beliefs, new ideas, new paradigms to be imprinted and potentially, if you so choose, to take hold quickly, to use this eclipse energy to release and shed thoughts, communication, correspondence, business deals that are no longer serving you and let them go and call in what you are wanting. So let this be a Mercury retrograde for the books. No need to fear. Okay. The one thing I will say is that we have the moon making that wide opposition to Mars on Tuesday. Tuesday is Mars's day. So just with Mercury stationing on the 10th, there could be some delays, which could cause some frustrations. So just to be mindful of that, to not force or to take a lot on potentially. That's why I'm saying use Monday to check off that to-do list so that Tuesday can be relatively chill. I was meeting a client in person in Toronto on Saturday, and I had 2 lifts cancel on me before I had a third one finally pick me up. So I end up being like 1 or 2 minutes late, which I value promptness, especially when I'm showing up in that capacity, but it happens. So don't leave things last minute. I think that kind of Moon Mars energy would just be like the overwhelm of that Virgo energy, trying to get everything right. And then the emotions that would come up from the Mars in Pisces, causing a lot of overwhelm. So just give yourself extra time to not need to do things at an exact moment, because there could be delays. Okay. And that can mean to you, or you're a byproduct of that delay, which could then just cause frustration or overwhelm. So just to be mindful of that. The one good thing here is that we have, I don't mean to say the only good thing, but a really positive aspect that we have on Tuesday is that Moon is making that applied trine to Uranus. So it could be a shift in a good way where you're like, I'm no longer going to take things so seriously, or I'm truly just going to live in the moment and focus on today and not stress out about the rest of the week, or stress out about this email, or stress out about where my relationships are going. I can just ground in. I would highly recommend going outside, grounding in nature. That's what I've been doing the past couple of days myself, of just really getting outside, taking in the sunlight, being and seeing all the synchronicities around me. So grounding, good food. Food is going to be important for tomorrow as well for our gut health. So if you haven't stocked up your fridge, or maybe doing some meal planning or getting grounded in general, Tuesday is the day for that. Okay. When we move into Wednesday, so with Wednesday, the moon is making really those oppositions to Mars and Neptune. And remember, I've talked a lot about it in these week ahead breakdowns. When the moon is making a frictional or challenging aspect to Mars, it can sometimes lead to injury or burning or cutting, these things that Mars kind of rules. With this, I really do think it's linked to gut health. That's just what intuitively came in, especially because we have this earth energy in play. And so it could just be frustration or fatigue around Virgo themes, which Virgo rules our intestines, right? So that's just something to be mindful of. And that's a really good thing to examine with the full moon lunar eclipse coming up, that if you're feeling sluggish, you can examine your nutrition, examine your gut health, intuitive eating, what's coming through there. And are we honoring our body or are we not? Especially with Mercury retrograde. Let's say if Gemini, you have a Gemini rising, or if you're a Capricorn rising, or a Cancer rising, that means that Mercury could have some effect on your health in some way. So that could be a good opportunity to reevaluate your eating habits, your nutrition, what you're doing to protect your body. So that is just something that I would really play into. One really good note here is that now we have both benefics fully in Aries. So I would look to your Aries house as well, because that's going to be a really big blessing where you can really draw on a lot of magic at all times, like this beautiful golden fountain in that part of your life. So whatever's going on in your own house ruled by Aries, pay attention to that, because that's going to be a really sweet spot that we can rely on. And then, of course, we also have the moon making that applied trine to Pluto. So just like a lot of dynamic changes, like I said, like this week, we want to take it one day at a time, because it just seems like every single day, there's a lot happening. And then we also have the moon making a trine to the sun. So nice, grounded, stable energy. We can almost say this is like a grand Earth trine almost, if Pluto was a little bit closer. Since Pluto is so slow moving, we usually give it an orb of 3 degrees. However, there is just a lot of nice, solid energy. So this is basically just thinking, what do I need to feel safe and secure? What does my body need to feel safe and secure? Maybe what are my direct resources, my job, my close relationships? That is what we were focusing on. We're not taking on the energy of the world. We're not focusing around everything else or getting super emotional about things we cannot control. We're just going to focus inward, and we will be good to go. Okay. Fabulous. Now, Thursday is a nice day as well because we have the moon making that trine to Mercury retrograde. And then it's also opposing Jupiter. So for me, this is kind of like many offers coming in. So let's say multiple friends text you and want to hang out over the weekend, or multiple ex-lovers come through and they're like, hey, are you up? What are you doing? Or this could be multiple job offers or just lots of ideas coming in, just with that air modality, just a lot of thoughts, communications, things of that sort. And then we also have, again, the moon making that opposition to Jupiter. So it could just be a lot, which could be exciting. It could also just have some discernment of being, is this aligned? We just talked about the first 3 days this week, that there's going to be so much change and there's going to be so much internal shifting as we get to that eclipse. So this is where you get to decide, are these offers even worth it? Do I want to engage in any of these correspondence or not? A lot of times I found when I'm working with clients or talking to friends recently, it's like, oh, I don't want to cut them out, or I want to give them a second chance. Why? If that person is being disrespectful, or you can tell that they're jealous or envious, why are we keeping these people in our life? This is also a very big eclipse energy. It's like, do you want to move on to this next massive level with those stagnant or negative relationships, with clothes that no longer make you feel good, eating the same things that make your stomach hurt and cause you lethargy? Why? So with an abundance of offers or ideas, just having that discernment to make sure that they're actually serving you positively. Okay. We're also getting the sun really close to the north node here too in Taurus. So that could also just be a sign where things that are coming through in that Taurus ruled house of yours are just made that much more clear. It's like, this is what I need to focus on. This is what I really want to do, especially given we had the moon in Virgo for the past few days. I think that that point in your life will just be made very clear. Moving on to Friday. This is like boundaries for me. This is if you're feeling a little bit insecure, or if there's some kind of challenging dynamic with a female or feminine energy in your life. This is just something to note that. I like that the moon is making that apply trine to Saturn and helping us feel grounded and stable. This can also be a nice day for productivity as well. But this is not a day, especially with Venus and Aries. We kind of talked about this last week when the moon was in Cancer, of not taking things personally. But this can also just be if we took yesterday's lesson of having a lot of offers and not responding to all of them. Now the moon opposing Venus, it can be like, oh, some people might be upset with us, or we may be going through those emotions as well of standing firm in our power, meaning that certain relationships or certain things are not a priority, or that we're not responding right away, right? If we're thinking about Venus and Aries, that's making sure that we are taken care of. The motto for Aries is I am. So what do you need to feel happy? And like I said, that Aries house is taking off. So if your career is going like this, or you're about to travel, or you know you're about to expand, some people may want to have a piece of that energetic pie. And if we have said no, initiate some boundaries, then it's probably going to make those people feel a certain type of way, especially if they're not doing the work and they're not seeing everything that you're putting in. So just to be mindful of that. It can also just be your own emotional regulation of that you're maybe a little bit tired or burnt out and you're like, all I want to do is have a nap, or all I want to do is have someone take care of me. And you're kind of going through that process of you being able to provide everything you need for yourself, but still, again, moon in Libra, wanting that connection or wanting to be seen or wanting to get acknowledged for all the hard work that you're putting into whatever facet of your life. So it's just being cognizant of that. We also now have Mars within 3 degrees of Neptune. So we'll touch on this, but this is kind of a good opportunity to talk about it now. Of with Mars and Neptune, this can be engaging in a fantasy. It can be good or bad. It can also be the shadow aspect of this, where it's delusion, where you're putting in so much energy into something that isn't real, or that something is not going to work out. Remember that scene when Carrie is about to go to Paris with the Russian, and her and Miranda are walking in the snow after the funeral. And then Miranda's like yelling at Carrie, "You're living in a fantasy." Carrie's like, "Maybe I am living in a fantasy." That's kind of what this is giving me, where it's like, you have to be careful where you're putting your energy, who you're being intimate with. Is this actually a good idea? Or is this just being played up? Is someone trying to deceive or manipulate you, or vice versa? You're trying to do that to someone else. So this is just something to watch. On the positive aspect, it can lead to really rapid, quick, intuitive spikes, intense dreams, really amazing intimacy, dream, passion. So like I said, it can go either way. I would say if you have water dominant energy, this could be supportive naturally, with Mars and Neptune making positive trines to anything you have in, let's say, Cancer or Scorpio. If you have prominent Sagittarius, Gemini, even Virgo energy at those late degrees, this conjunction is just something to be aware of so that we're not putting in all this energy for no reason. You can also be the byproduct of this. Like if we were Miranda in that case, and your friend cannot see straight, and it's like, this is not going to last. This isn't going to work. And that can make you feel a certain type of way. And that can also manifest in this Moon Venus opposition, right? Where it could be tension with a relationship or with a parent, where either they're caught in a delusion or things aren't making sense, or they feel like we are that, or it could be both, or it could be both, like both parties are right. So Friday this week is just one to take a step back, examine what's going through. There will probably be something with the relationship, whether it's someone in your life or the relationship with yourself, to make sure that things are all going well. And again, things are just going to get more and more intense as we're leading up to that eclipse. So this is all to help you move into a situation where you have more power and clarity. So it may feel like growing pains are uncomfortable. It may not, but it does just seem like the universe is prepping us to make sure that we're ready for what's about to come through. Okay. Now, Saturday, now the moon is in Scorpio. We're getting closer and closer to that full moon lunar eclipse. This is one thing I wanted to address for those of you maybe more advanced in your astrology knowledge or just curious. There's an aspect called a quincunx, which is when planets are 150 degrees away from each other or also in conjunct. This was curious to me because we have the moon quincunx Jupiter in Aries and the moon quincunx Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So this can be where things like, this is where maybe your emotions feel like they're separate, or that they can't meld with your thoughts or your beliefs, right? Or how you're communicating or how you're being heard. So one, take a look at the houses in your chart ruled by Scorpio, Gemini, and Aries. See how these energies are melding. It could be a situation where maybe because you don't have romantic love in your life right now, it's hard for you to believe that it's coming through. And maybe all of your communication or your conversations are negative or restrictive because that moon in Scorpio, for example, could be feeling so emotional or ready for that deep, intimate connection. But then maybe the beliefs or the thoughts around this are not in alignment because it's not here right now. It's hard to believe it's coming. Or it could be the same thing around work or a dream or family issues or real estate or whatever it may be. So this is just something to note, that if your emotions are being tied to things unseen or certain things are causing you frustration, that this is just something to examine to see what's coming through, so that we're not ruminating on that and that we're able to take ourselves out of it. We can switch the narrative, right? That's what we've been talking about, that every single day there's opportunity for intense, dramatic change, either good or bad, depending how we show up to the party. Of course, even just with the moon in Scorpio, she's now going to be navigating that opposition to Uranus, the square to Saturn. She's approaching the south node. There's just a lot coming to the surface. It's kind of like that analogy when you haven't cleaned any of your dishes, and then when you put the soap in the water, it's like all that gunk comes to the surface and you have to like almost clear that out before you can even get to the dishes. This is like that too. So don't freak out. This is all good. This is all the shadows that need to come to the surface in order for us to clear it out and move forward. This is also not the time to take on a lot. If you feel like you want to be reclusive or just spend time on your own, this is the time to do so, especially as we move on to Sunday, when the moon is making really nice trines to Mars and Neptune. I think having that time alone and being a clear channel is going to help you. I know it's a full moon, but it's a full moon lunar eclipse. So it's almost probably going to feel like a bit of that dark moon energy before we get to this eclipse, where you might feel tired. For those who menstruate, your period may change. A lot of these energies may shift. Again, we're in eclipse season. So this is just something to be aware of and to really honor your intuition, honor your body. Remember, when the moon was in Virgo this week, really talked about our gut health and leaning into that, regulating our emotions, getting grounded. It's almost like this eclipse is really going to test all those themes to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. We are the number one priority. Again, all this Aries energy. And look, we have Venus exactly conjunct Chiron. So yeah, there's going to be a lot. And if we're talking about quincunx energy, now the moon is quincunx Venus. So there could be a lot of that. Am I honoring myself? Am I putting myself first? Or am I allowing my emotions to be affected by X, Y, and Z? Okay. Depending on your time zone, the eclipse will either happen on the 15th at like 9 p.m. or it's going to happen very early on the 16th. So West Coast individuals are those kind of big in that neck of the woods in North America. You'll experience it on Sunday, Monday for everyone else. If you do have a lot of Scorpio energy in your chart or fixed energy, just be mindful. I know personally, I'm going off the grid. I'm turning off screens on Sunday. Even Monday, I'm really just taking time to go inward during that eclipse. So if that resonates for you and you're able to do that or just take things slow, I would very much recommend it. Okay. Okay. So I wanted to talk about our Astro question of the week. I posted recently Blake Lively at the Met Gala, being a goddess, being a queen. And she was just like so happy, so radiant, so beautiful. And I'm like, this is one of the most Leo rising things I've ever seen. I got a DM asking, what's the difference between a Leo rising and the North Node in Leo? And I thought that was a really good question. So I wanted to discuss this. I even have Blake Lively's chart. So let's take a look at that and just kind of really examine that for a moment. So Blake's chart is pretty amazing. We have this supreme Virgo stellium. She has Mars, Cazimi, the sun, almost exactly to the minute. So she has her rising in Leo. Her North Node is in Aries. So North Node, unless it's in the first house, but the North Node generally doesn't have any effect on our beauty, on our appearance, on our outward persona. Remember that if we're talking about the rising sign, it's the lens in which we see the world and how the world first sees us, generally speaking. So if we're talking through a Leo lens, people would see, for example, Blake Lively is very solar, very beautiful or powerful or a leader. All these things that she very much is. Leo also has that spotlight energy, I like to say. So very creative, very talented. She's an actress. That North Node energy across the board is what your soul is trying to accomplish. With regards to evolutionary astrology, it's a point of increase, or the area and the energy that your soul wants to move into. Or it's kind of like that North Star energy that we're constantly trying to fulfill, that archetype or themes of that house. So with the ninth house, that is very much international relations, traveling, storytelling, teaching. I wouldn't be surprised because Blake does have a lot of enterprises with cooking and homemaking. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point she ends up teaching kind of like cooking or teaching acting, like a masterclass later on in her life, because it is curious that the ruler of her North Node and her Ascendant are almost exactly conjunct. So I'm sure she'll make a lot of money, like being a very powerful acting coach or teaching cooking or having her own show. Like we find production in the ninth house, and Blake has done projects internationally all over the world. So it's not like she's a local actor, has done like one thing throughout the entire time. If we're talking about Aries too, like being very innovative, I was kind of think like Gossip Girl walked so Euphoria could run in terms of like that teen high school salacious material. And Blake was obviously a very key actress in that series, but she wasn't even defined by that. She's done like so many iconic roles or movies that she's just very well revered, right? And so whether we're talking about Aries or Leo, that fire, I think of fire as light, that it illuminates, it entertains, it makes people happy. It's just very prominent. So I trust that that helps to clear up a little bit the difference between the North Node and the rising sign in one's chart. I also talk about the nodes in relation to the eclipses in the webinar that I did a little while back. So if you're curious about that, you can find that on our website as well. Okay. Thank you all for watching. Of course, any general questions you may have, please let me know in the comments. As we discussed, this week is very energetically charged. Please listen to yourself, listen to your body, take it one day at a time, and allow spontaneity and magic to enter always. I'll talk to you soon. Have a beautiful week. Bye.